All right, so there's probably an even number of people who are actually interested in this video and people who are just trying to leave a comment about like, hey, why don't you fix your upload schedule before you like devote yourself to something as huge as like building a company or some kind of cybersecurity SaaS app? Shut up. I'm working on it. So yes, I am starting a cybersecurity like SaaS kind of company, big data thing. I'll explain a little bit more about the company in a sec, but if you want to follow the updates on the company itself, you can go to malparse.com. I will leave a link in the description for that and sign up for email updates. I will be sending out weekly kind of text versions of these videos once that goes out. I'll also be posting updates on the Twitter. That would be at Malparse on Twitter. So if you want updates and you don't want to listen to the rest of this video, go ahead and hit up those links. You can also follow it on Indie Hackers if you're on that site, but it's whatever. So where did this come from? The idea came from the fact that I'm a very avid VirusTotal user. VirusTotal is a platform where people upload files to scan them and figure out if they're malware. Or if they know that they're malware, they scan them to kind of find out more about those files. It will tell you if it's been uploaded before. It will tell you a lot of different cool information about the file that it's parsed out of it. What VirusTotal gives you is really, really good. It gives you all of the hashes. It will scan the file through several different antivirus companies, and it's like kind of the de facto app for all of cybersecurity. If you're doing cybersecurity, you're probably using VirusTotal on a pretty frequent basis at the very least. I use it like daily in my day job. But VirusTotal doesn't give you everything. And it's kind of struck me a couple of times where I've been looking at a sample and I've been like, man, I wish it would just automatically parse this or that out for me. For example, pretty much every time you deal with some kind of intrusion, it seems like Cobalt Strike is involved. I wish that basically VirusTotal were automatically pulling the configs out of Cobalt Strike and allowing you to basically look at samples that all share the same or similar configs. That's just pretty much like the example that got me thinking about building Malparse. What I want Malparse to be is basically an automated malware analysis platform that gives you all of that granular information. It pulls out the configs. It allows you to look across several different samples to look at configs that have shared data or entirely shared configs. It looks at certain samples and looks for similar obfuscation patterns and things like that. So in part, it's me kind of wanting that for myself. If nobody else uses it and it's just me, it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass because it won't scale up as much, but it will still be useful. This is not likely to be some kind of moonshot like cybersecurity unicorn startup or anything. I don't necessarily want it to be that, but I do want to share it. And in order to share it, I have to host it. In order to host it, I've got a lot of different costs that come with that. So my basic first stretch funding goal is just to get it to cover its own monthly costs, which at the moment are low, but will definitely scale up as more people start using it, hopefully. So on the note of kind of trying to figure out funding, I've got a couple of ideas that I'm kind of bouncing around right now. I know that it's likely to follow some kind of freemium type, process where it's going to be free for everybody. But in order to get certain aspects of it, like API access or heightened API access, like more requests and things like that, you'll need to buy like a paid account. But I've also been kind of playing with the idea of releasing a super, super alpha version very soon and allowing people to donate like tips, essentially, kind of like a pay what you want sort of system. I think that would kind of help get it off the ground and kind of, give me a little bit more motivation, but I haven't necessarily decided on that. Okay, you're like, shut up. I don't want to hear all of this. Just tell me what it does. This is a devlog. So right now we have a basic site. The site is ugly as hell, but it's basically my coming soon landing page type thing. I haven't even settled on the actual color scheme of it because it's like this weird purple, blue, green thing. You'll be able to tell fairly quickly that I'm a back end guy, not a front end guy. But basically, I've got this really ugly landing page, and all it does is ask you for your email and explains a little bit about the actual project itself. So if you look here, it's very, very simple. Malparse coming soon. This is at https://malparse.com. It gives a link to the Twitter and a link to the Indie Hackers page, has a little sign up for updates section here. You can submit your email or you can go down here and learn more about it. So this is just basically what I want Malparse to do in a nutshell. It's going to kind of give you an idea about like the different inspirations and the different applications of Malparse. So I'm not going to like read this word for word. I probably actually need to slow down the timer a little bit because some people may read slower than that. But regardless, this is going to give you kind of an idea of what it does and what I want it to do. And then you've got a sign up button right here that just takes you to the top of the page. It's literally a one-page website. Not supposed to be anything fancy, but you know, it does the job. The staging version right now, I'm not going to show it because it's actually all CLI, but basically I've got the ability to parse out all of the headers and fields from PE, which is Windows executable, portable executables, and ELF format, so Linux executables. Those are the only two I've got it working on right now because those were the main two that I wanted to focus on. Next up is going to be DLLs and .NET, because that's pretty much like the big four that I deal with on a daily basis. So right now it pulls out the headers and the disparate fields that are related to those headers. I'll leave a link to the docs for the ELF format and the PE format. That'll just kind of give you an idea of what right now it pulls out. It also pulls out ASCII and Unicode strings, and all of that is basically being put into the backend and is indexable. So I can search across the entirety of, you know, the kind of file corpus as it is right now, like 10 files, I think, that I'm using for testing. And I can search for strings. So I want to see if, you know, which executables have which strings in common. I can search by file type, file size, and I can also search for different header items. So I want to search for all of the PE files that have certain flags within the within like one of their headers. So I believe there's a program header and there's, I believe, a characteristics flag structure within that. And for whatever reason, I want to search across all of the files to find one specific type of flag and which files like have that same flag. I'm also going to be pulling out PDBs. That is something that is present in Firestone, and it's super useful. So pulling out PDBs and things like that, you know, that's going to be next on the docket. This week, I'm going to be focusing kind of on one of the most boring things ever. I'm going to be focusing on the testing dashboard. The testing dashboard, the idea of it is I've gathered thousands and thousands of malware samples from the zoo and a couple of other like pirated kind of sources. And basically the idea is to take all of those files and batch them up, separate them in some meaningful way. So have, let's say, one batch of just portable executables that are straight and simple, no obfuscation or anything like that. And then another batch of just ELF files, and then another batch of DLL files, and then maybe make sub batches into, you know, out of those, and break those up and then test all of my parsing as I develop it. Basically, there's no point in me doing this if I can't test at scale. If I don't have an idea of what breaks and what works at scale, basically what's going super, super slow, what parsing isn't working on some PE files, what kind of, you know, weird like niche PE files or file formats it's breaking on, things like that. If I don't have an idea of what breaks at scale, then I'm going to deploy this and just immediately have like a deluge of bug fixes, or nobody's going to even bother using it. So I'm going to build a really good testing platform that I'm going to kind of use throughout the future. My hope is the next devlog, which will be next week, I'll have an update and I'll be able to show a little bit of that testing dashboard. It's going to be ugly because all of the tools that I use on the back end, I'm not even going to bother like putting any kind of design work. If you saw my site, you might be asking yourself, well, when did you start putting design work into anything? And for that, I'd say fair. But basically, it's all going to be like black and white text. I might pretty it up just for the sake of my own eyes at some point, but the whole idea of it is usability first and not really worry about it being pretty, since it's not going to be customer facing anyways. So that's the basics of it. If you stuck with me for this long, like 10 minutes or so, thank you so much. Keep following this channel. If you want updates on YouTube, you can also sign up for email updates as well by going to malparse.com. Or you can follow the Twitter, and I'll be posting kind of like intermittent updates on Twitter as well. But the best place to get updates is through the email list and through this channel. Thank you so much. Peace.